Hello everyone, so I just finished watching Godzilla vs. Kong. This is of course the fourth installment of the MonsterVerse franchise, and it is a sequel to Godzilla, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and King Kong's Skull Island. So this is a throwdown, a big showdown all about who is truly King of the Monsters between these two titans, or two of the world's most famous monsters of all time. And you can watch this on HBO Max, or if you're like me in Canada, you can get it from basically any rental service, whether that be YouTube or me personally, I watch it off of the Cineplex store. So there's a ton of different ways that you can rent this movie. It cost me $25 Canadian to watch it, so it's not too much of a hit to the pocket. But without further ado, let me get into my review for Godzilla vs. Kong. So the premise of Kong vs. Godzilla, of course, is pretty simple. It's all about kind of where it takes place is we find out that Monarch has been protecting Kong after the end of Godzilla King of the Monsters, because now that he has been crowned King of the Monsters, he is the true Alpha Titan, and Kong is the only one who can really rival him in this earth. So if Kong is able to basically get out in the world somehow, Godzilla's going to snip him out and try and kill him. I had my theories that like Godzilla's not there to kill him. He wants to truly show that he's the dominant force and just basically wants to be the ruler of all monsters. He's not there to kill if he doesn't have to, but that's not the way that humans are going to see it. That's not the way that Kong is going to see it. So eventually when these two do meet, there is two big showdowns that we get between these two monsters, and we do get to see like who would truly win between these two. Like that question is answered, it's done, it's final, and that's wrapped up by the end of this movie. And of course, I'm not going to get too much into kind of some of the plot twists and turns that this movie takes, but there's a lot of really cool things that we do get to see, and we do get the definitive answer of who is truly the King of the Monsters between these two Alpha Titans. And it does a good job telling that story, even though of course it is like simple in getting there. There's a few human stories in this where some of them are good, some of them aren't so good. Of course, most of humans in this movie are very pro King Kong, and I do want to say I did like that aspect where there is a really like minor spoilers here. In the MonsterVerse, we finally get confirmed that the Hollow Earth theory is real, and I think that when they actually go into the Hollow Earth, they describe it and they show it to us, it is one of the coolest representations of the Hollow Earth that I've ever seen, and they did a fantastic job with that. But there's a young little girl who can communicate with Kong, and she is fantastic throughout the entirety of this movie. She was easily my favorite human character, and there's a few other human characters that she interacts with too, where one works with Monarch and another one is a scientist who's kind of discovered and lost people due to the Hollow Earth theory, and they're both very good in this movie. They do a lot of amazing things, and they help Kong out in a lot of really fantastic ways that I think kind of makes them some of the best human characters that we've seen in the MonsterVerse so far. I would say they're even like on par, if not better, than Tom Hiddleston was in Skull Island, because I thought he was fantastic in that, and these characters are really cool, and I did like their storyline quite a bit. On the other hand though, I found that Millie Bobby Brown and the two other human characters that she interacts with didn't really need to be in this movie at all. It felt like they just had to be written in there because of a contract that they signed on for multiple movies, and them being there never added anything to the movie. Of course, they try and write them into ways where they discover big things, but truly like their presence and them doing it doesn't add anything to the movie, doesn't add anything to Kong or Godzilla, or really just humanity's fates between the battle of these two titans. And I found a lot of the time too, there's one character who's basically a conspiracy blogger, and he's trying to be a whistleblower on this factory that Godzilla attacks in the beginning of this movie. And some of his quips and little, he kind of monologues over everything, and a few times, like, I found what he was saying was funny enough that, like, I wanted to chuckle, but he was written no chemistry with Millie Bobby Brown's character or any of the characters that he shared these kind of little quips and monologues with, where, like I said, it was written funny enough, but just there was no chemistry between the characters. I don't want to say there wasn't any between the actors, because they all like did what they could with the script, but they weren't really given much to do and definitely nothing important to do. They were more there just to help progress the story along, but I think it could have been told more effectively and just a lot better if they weren't in it at all. Like I said, there wasn't really much a reason for them to be in this movie, but like I said, that's just on Godzilla side. On Kong side, it is very, very well done. A lot of the times this movie, and especially from the trailers, I was a little worried that this movie was going to be very pro King Kong, and there is a lot of times in this movie where it does feel like it's going down that path, but I do have to say, like, by the finale and the conclusion of this movie, that's not what this movie is about. It's not a pro-Kong movie, but you can tell that the humans in this world definitely favored him. The writers did favor him quite a bit, and it did feel lopsided in a lot of ways throughout most of the entirety of this film, and a lot of the time Godzilla was villainized in a way that just didn't really make sense to me, where you see him just absolutely nuking people who, like, he's trying to destroy this one factory in the beginning of the movie, like I said, and he's just killing anyone who gets, like, not even in his way, just people trying to escape. He's knocking down bridges full of civilians, killing military members who weren't really too much of a threat to him. Like, it wasn't equivalent to kind of how he reacted in the first Godzilla movie, where he was being shot by a lot of military, but he knew that he could just ignore them and go through. He was killing everything in his way, and it felt just way too villainous for his character, because Godzilla's always been a character who's there for just to restore balance, but don't get in his way, or else he can't really be held accountable for the destruction that he causes. But he was truly trying to kill these people and, like, a lot of innocent civilians in this movie, and it just felt, like I said, really out of character, and just in a way that I didn't like how they showcased. But Kong is pretty fantastic in this movie. Like, he has some really cool character development, world building, where Godzilla doesn't really get that at all. He's just there for the fights, essentially, where King Kong gets a ton of character development, a ton of world building, especially through the Hollow Earth theory. Like, he just cuts so much character development, characterization, and it was awesome watching it. Like, he is an amazing character in this movie, and he's awesome during the fights. But I just wish we didn't really get, like, a very villain Godzilla in this movie, and he was really sidelined throughout the telling of this story and telling of the world building. But of course, like, most people are here to watch the fights and know what happens, and I can say with absolute certainty that this is the best fight, or two fights I should say, that could have ever taken place between Godzilla and Kong, where the first battle on the ships is, of course, very lopsided to Godzilla, but King Kong makes amazing use of his environments, and especially so in the second fights where they're in Hong Kong, and what they're able to pull off in that second fight is pretty amazing. And same thing too in the first fight. Both of them are just absolutely fantastic, and kind of gives them both advantages in terms of the playing field, and you really get to see them use the environments, but they're both really good when they're out of their elements, because, like I said, it's kind of vice versa between the two fights, where Godzilla's in his elements in the first one, but not so much in the second fight, and then vice versa for Kong. And just, they do some amazing fights in this, and the action is on par. It's stellar. It's exactly what you'd want from a Godzilla vs. Kong movie, and just even a giant monster movie. It is so well done in that regard. I did find a few times that the soundtrack in this movie was a little, like, some of the song choices that they used were a little kind of off-putting, or didn't feel right for the scene. All the original score is very well done, especially when they kick into the action. It's really good. It's directed pretty well too. I never found it was directed as well as Godzilla King of the Monsters, or even the first Godzilla film, but there is some really great scale shots that show, like, the intensity and scale, like the size of these fights and these monsters. That was really well done. It just wasn't as cinematic, or in terms of cinematography, it didn't blow me away as much as these other movies did, but they did a good job kind of just showcasing the destruction that this fight would cause, and really good on that part too. Even some of the scenes where Godzilla is just swimming in the water, there was some really cool, like I said, just scale shots to just show how small we are compared to these monsters, and they did it in a really cool way, a way that's epic, a way that's frightening, they still nail upon the elements, but like I said, it's wasn't as good as some of the previous entries of the MonsterVerse were. But truly, there are so many things in this movie that put a big smile on my face. I got excited for the fights. I got excited for the storytelling in a lot of regards in this movie. It is fairly short. It comes in at just about an hour and 50 minutes long, and I do really think that that was a good timestamp for this movie, where it didn't need to be any longer than it was. They could have spent maybe a little more time in the Hollow Earth and explaining maybe some of the origin of the battle between King Kong and Godzilla's ancestors. And like I said, written out Millie Bobby Brown and kind of that side of the story, because I didn't find that wasn't needed, and replaced it with that. And this would have been just elevated in a few certain ways in terms of, like I said, just the lore building and the world building of these characters. But with all this taken together, I'm going to give Godzilla vs. Kong a 7.5 out of 10. It is absolutely badass. I'll give it a badass seal or just logo, whatever it is. It deserves that title so much, because it is very, very well done. The fights are fantastic, and for any fan of the MonsterVerse, for any fan of Godzilla vs. King Kong, this is definitely a movie that you will want to check out eventually. It is really, really well done and just a fun movie to watch. And it's, like I said, with the Hollow Earth theory and a bunch of other things, it leaves it open for so much potential in terms of sequels for both characters. And I'm very, very excited to see just what they're able to do in the future of these movies. But of course, if you've seen Godzilla vs. Kong, please let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. And if you like this video, you can check out all my other movie reviews and everything else I do on this channel through the playlist down below, and I also links them up here. You can also check out everything I do video game wise through my Twitch, which is linked in my description, and also you can join the Discord, where we talk about just amazing stuff that we love about the world, about entertainment, media, and things like that. So you can join that through the link in my bio, of course. And if you like what you see on this channel, you can like and subscribe and turn the little ringer on if you want to know when I upload new videos. But definitely check out Godzilla vs. Kong. It is one hell of a monster mash time, and it's just awesome, guys.